Flagrant meets TRS.
Yo, I'm very excited to be here.
Akaash Singh is the fastest rising star in the game of stand-up comedy. Known for his sharp wit and fearless humor,
Akaash is also the co-host of the widely popular American podcast Flagrant.
From the 80s until now, how's the perception of the Indian changed in America?
The perception is, honestly, India is coming. I feel the K-pop wave is over, and I actually predict Punjabi music is going to have a big wave in America.
How it feels when you come back to India?
To Indians, I might be American, but when I come here, I'm like, no, I'm home.
I don't know if every Indian knows about what the term A, B, C, D means.
We know we are. American-born confused Desi. That is a struggle that we have of like, what are we? Nobody thinks we're them.
I'm super curious about how Hollywood is perceived in America.
There's a cancel culture here that's very flimsy, and you can go either way. And there's like a forced diversity in Hollywood where let's put an Indian in this thing and then we're diverse.
Do Hindus in America know about the Mahabharata and Ramayana?
Yes, we know of it, and then we all watch tapes.
The B.R. Chopra Mahabharata. Mahabharata! That?
Yeah, I never got as into it. On my end now, I love, dude. I thought it was awesome. We're watching Hira Mandi. My wife, she was like, this is a Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie. Do not expect happiness at the end. And if she didn't tell me that, I would have been so devastated. I've never seen any director make anything look as beautiful as he makes everything look.
Do you want to talk about Gen Z America a little bit?
Yeah, let's yell at them a little bit. Yeah, sure.
Why do you say that, bro? Indians follow American politics from a geopolitical standpoint because whatever's happening in
It
America.
affects everything. I feel the whole world is getting more polarized, but America's the epicenter of it.
How do you feel about it?
I'm worried about America, man. We are shooting at political leaders, and that's a scary thing.
Akaash Singh is now one of the most popular stand-up comedians in America. His fame has made its way to India as well. He's the co-host of one of the world's most popular podcasts, Flagrant. But in today's podcast, we're going to talk about the entire overseas Indian community, the community of NRIs, Indian culture, as well as the Indian culture that's been formed inherently in the United States of America because of second and third generations of Indian immigrant families. This is a very special podcast, not just for me, but I hope also for the entire NRI community. This is kind of like a modern Indian American meets a modern Indian style conversation. Lots of fun, very insightful, and pretty deep. It's Akaash Singh on TRS. We just recorded a very epic recap of the Ambani wedding.
Correct.
So in this podcast, we're going to talk about everything but the Ambani wedding.
And it's good. I'm so tired that my defenses are probably down. So ask me anything right now. I'll be honest.
But I'm also pretty sure it's going to come up in this conversation.
Okay, good. Let's go.
How are you, bro?
How are you? Tired?
Physically, yeah. But I know this is going to be a good conversation and I live for this.
Okay.
So,
okay, good.
Welcome to India, bro.
Thank you, man. I'm excited. I love being here.
The one thing that we admire deeply about America and India, other than the culture, okay? Like I'm talking about media culture, the shows, movies, etc. The one thing we admire is everyone seems to be really ambitious. I don't know if that's an overly generalized statement.
Yeah.
But at least the people whose work reaches us, the ambition is on another level. Like we as a country have learned ambition by looking at America. And sales skills. Everyone's a really good salesperson there.
Yeah. A lot of entertainment. Now that we are in our own everything, there's so much marketing involved. And I'm still not great at that, to be honest with you. But the really good marketing can take you really far.
Okay. You're talking about Indian marketing, right?
No, as an entertainer, probably both. But in America with YouTube now, the dollar is strong enough and the GDP or like the per capita GDP is high enough that I don't need Hollywood to tell me I'm in before I can make money. I can actually make a lot more money outside of Hollywood if I get people to love me and become a part of my tribe. And a part of that is marketing if you want it to be. That can really accelerate things at the very least. If not, take them to heights that you could never reach without it. So every entertainer now that's operating in that YouTube space is kind of marketing to a tribe, trying to reach their tribe, trying to form their tribe. And we don't need anybody else. We got us.
Build community.
And I tried to say that, I tried to say that to an entertainer here who's like, there's a cancel culture here that's very flimsy, and you can go either way. And it wasn't you, it was somebody else.
You're talking about India.
Yeah,
India's
in India.
culture.
And I said, well, why don't you just try to get your tribe? Like, that's what you would do in America. He said, man, it's just not as much. You just can't make enough money that way.
That's true.
So you kind of have to supplicate yourself to this machine.
Mm.
And if you get canceled and you lose your endorsements, you're fucked because that's how you make most of your money here.
But I also can't think of anyone who's gotten. I mean, there's a few. There's like a handful of people who've gotten cancelled forever. I feel our country allows you to bounce back very strongly from cancellation.
Yeah, I think people, especially because cancel culture, I'm sure we needed to weed out some of these people, but some of them also, it's like, we're canceling this now. There was an overextent. Every time they canceled, they overcorrected to one or two people. And then I think that so we kept the few really bad seeds out, and eventually people woke up and were like, well, this guy didn't deserve that. You know what I mean?
Have you met anyone at a party who's been cancelled in the past and stays cancelled?
No, I don't think so.
They stop going out.
I can't think of it. Yeah. If you had a career before and you were talented and relatively well liked, you're good. If you stayed canceled, people hated you.
I'm super curious about how Hollywood is perceived in America now.
There's a growing sentiment of like disdain. I don't know, it's probably too strong of a word, but like, we don't. There's still idol worship is not the right word because it's an actual. But like, there's still like a certain deification of them.
Icon worship.
Yeah, but there's also a growing like amount of like, you guys are so out of touch with reality. You pretend you're just sitting there preaching about politics. You don't know shit. You don't do anything to help anybody. You're selfish. You're narcissistic. Blah blah blah. And I think that's probably just happens on the flip side if you get worshipped too much. That's why I don't ever want that. I'll look at the camera right now. I'm not a great guy. I try to be nice. I fail a lot. I'm gonna be an to some of you. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Don't make me that so you can tear me down later. I don't want it.
Other than the Marvel films and Top Gun, which released recently, has there been like a blockbuster Hollywood film in recent times? Because I remember when I was a kid, there were blockbuster Hollywood releases coming out all the time.
Yeah.
And the same goes for Bollywood.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot more flops in the Hindi film industry also.
Yeah.
The Telugu film industry is rising like crazy and they're making fantastic films.
I've
and
heard that.
All the 5 South states, 4 industries, making incredible cinema. The Hindi film industry, the general narrative is that it's not doing as well as it was earlier.
Tell me what people are saying. Naysayers.
The
what are they
masses?
saying? Yeah. What are the people who are criticizing it? What are they saying?
Disconnected from reality of the country.
That's exactly how people feel about Hollywood there. And there's like it's getting annoying on the other side with people complaining about it, but like kind of a forced diversity in Hollywood where I just want to see South Asian stories represented. But what ends up happening when these Hollywood producers who are just kind of out of touch, they're like, well, here, let's put an Indian in this thing and then we're good. Or let's see what we want Indians to be in this project. And then we're diverse. I don't care how you want. Let me tell my story. And if it's Indian, great. And if it's not, if it's Indian enough for you, great. And if it's not, that's also cool too. But let me just tell my story. I want to see my brown wife. I want to see us in a show with a brown family dealing with brown issues. And if y'all like it, amazing. And if you don't, that's fine too. But there used to be black TV shows when I was a kid. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a funny TV show told through a black lens.
Everybody hates Chris.
Martin. These were shows. And then at some point, Hollywood decided they wanted everybody to be on one screen that's a different race. And we're just going to make this a gay black guy and an Indian guy who's scared to go outside. And then a white guy who kind of looks ambiguous. And he's kind of a beta male. And then a white woman who's really strong. And they just try to check every box with one project. And I don't know any human being who has that friend circle. I just don't.
I'm understanding American culture so much better.
Okay.
But also, again, my head boils down to the possibility that the producers who've created this are trying to please people in the way that they think is best. That, hey, you're Indian, but you can be gay.
Yeah.
Or you're black, But you can be in comic books. You can be a nerd.
I think Andrew says this a lot. What he's realized is he's ascended and gotten in these rooms is like these people just don't want to lose their jobs. So the number one thing they get told is there's no diversity. So they just kind of scramble and they're like, look, diversity. Don't fire me, please. Look, diversity. There's no agenda. If they're not bad people, they just miss the mark. That's all. They're not in touch with reality, and it shines through often in how the projects come out.
That's why they're not making as much money as they used to.
Yeah, and also I think just to be practical, I don't need to go to a movie theater anymore. I have a 70-inch TV in my house. I have Netflix. Why am I going to go pay $14 to sit in someone else's chair with sticky floors, soda dried up from 3 hours ago? Like, I just watch it in my house.
I can't believe I'm asking you about this, but urban India is, again, very into American culture.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of urban Indian guys traditionally have been into Judd Apatow movies.
Oh, really?
Like Seth Rogen.
That's
and
very
like,
funny. Yeah.
do you ever meet those guys, Seth Rogen, Jonah?
No, I have not met any of them.
Okay. Because we wonder, while we sit in India,
Mm-hmm.
about why these guys don't make films anymore.
So comedy, I've heard this. Comedy wasn't. This is when they were only making Marvel movies. The reason they made Marvel movies, action movies, is because those played internationally. You need the international dollar now to really turn a profit. Comedy tends to be very local, very timely. It's not necessarily evergreen. And all these factors mean it's probably not going to hit internationally. Like a good comedy movie has so much American nuance. It's,
Cultural references.
etc. And not people in China aren't going to get that. They don't get exposed to this. All you got to know about Thor is he's the god of thunder, and I can watch a great movie. If I'm watching Knocked Up, I got to know Matthew Fox. You think Matthew Fox is an ass? Nobody in China's watched the show Lost. They don't know who the Matthew Fox is. That's funny if you know who he is. But if not, it's not, and I'm not gonna enjoy the movie. I'm not gonna tell my friends to go see it. So they stopped making comedy movies for that reason.
If you had to show an Indian person 3 iconic Hollywood films and assume that they've never seen a Hollywood film.
Oh God, that's tough, dude. I don't know. My favorite movie is Friday, that's not Hollywood at all. That's a black movie. So I don't know. The first movie that's coming to mind is probably a terrible choice, but Ocean's 11, just so you can see all of the biggest stars in just like a fun movie. This is not a substantive movie. This is not going to teach you. You're not going to walk away saying this was art, but you're going to have a great time, and you're going to see all of our biggest stars on one screen. If I want to show them a quality movie, The Godfather, probably.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the quality movie. So the fun movie, the quality movie, and then the comedy I would show them is Friday, which is, again, like, here's a lower budget, just funny movie. You're probably not going to get 90% of it, but it's a funny movie. So I don't know. That's the one I'm thinking of now, but I'd probably swap that one out just because no one would get it. If you had to show somebody 3 movies, this feels easier to me. Maybe it's because where we're from. If you had to show an American 3 movies to represent India, what would they be?
Guru?
Okay.
You tell me if you don't agree. I'm actually hoping that you don't agree because I want to know why you don't agree.
Yeah.
So Guru would be 1?
I can only think of 2 for sure for Bollywood. Sholay. You need to see Amitabh. You need to see the movie that made Amitabh. I like The Wad better, but Sholay's the movie that everybody goes to. And then DDLJ.
Yeah. That would have been one of my choices.
And I might go Kalhona Ho maybe, just so because it's just like a fantastic movie. But probably those 3. DDLJ just because you need to know why we love Shah Rukh, and Kalhona is just a great movie.
Bro, you said Kalhona Ho?
Actually, maybe Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om because there's a Hindu aspect to it. So you understand like the eastern side of, I keep using eastern, but you understand the religious aspect of India. You understand the Bollywood film, like fanfare of India, even at the time. You see India in a time and place, and it's a fucking great plot that incorporates Hinduism, which there aren't a lot of those. That you see Christianity incorporated into a movie as just like The Devil's Advocate. That's just a movie about the devil. That's a Christian thing incorporated in the movie organically. Om Shanti Om does the same thing with Hinduism. It's organically incorporated. They don't need to explain reincarnation. They don't say, oh, this is a thing this is a thing Hindus believe. You guys don't necessarily know about it. It's just a part of the movie, and it's a great movie. Okay. So those would be the 3.
There's a film called Gangs of Wasseypur.
Okay.
Have you seen this?
No.
Watch it. I'd love to know if you'd recommend it to Americans. So one of our filmmakers who celebrated a lot is Anurag Kashyap, who makes like darker cinema, darker, grittier cinema. And that's his best work.
Okay.
And it's a film that we keep revisiting. It was supposed to be made as a 4 or 5 hour film or something like that, and then they split it up into 2 parts. But it's a story about, it's a like crime related story.
Okay, I need to see that then.
Bro, it's like the grittiest film you'll see in your life, because there's aspects of that film which are extremely real. Obviously, a lot of it is much more cinematic, but it's a very well made film.
Okay.
Gangs of Wasipur, to show the West the quality of Indian cinema. Kalo Na Ho, because it's a very relatable, human, emotion-oriented film.
We had my wife will have like our white friends over and show them Bollywood movies. We took the head of content that I have, Kevin, big white dude, and his wife. We took them to Rakhi Aur Rani. They loved it.
Really?
Kevin bought a shirt. Yeah.
They got it? Because, again,
It's subtitles. So, but it's just like you get enough. It's just a fun movie. We had them watch Kal Ho Na Ho. They loved that. And then those are the only 2 so far.
But I loved Rocky or Rani because, again, great comedy film after a while, but it spoke about the problems of 2023 and 2024.
Yeah.
Like cancel culture and like polarization of the world. I would never assume that a white person in America also enjoyed it.
I was surprised, honestly. Kal Ho Na Ho, again, is like anybody can get that film. But I was surprised. But I also gave Karan Johar credit in the last episode. This one, too, it's like, a lot of people say like, oh, I was problematic, and then just kind of give like a half-hearted apology. This work seems to reflect like he didn't love everything that he used to do. He sees problematic nature in it, and he did it in a way that wasn't annoying or like condescending or preachy. He just like put it all in, and then he also gave the other side with like the cancel culture defense and all that. And like, I also like that three-dimensionally, normally you watch these movies, the man always messes up and then tries to win the woman back, and he's the one that's scared of commitment, and then he's the one that Rocky, and this is a credit to Ranveer Singh, the most sweetest guy, says these little problematic things, but he has such a good heart. And then she doesn't say the problematic things, but she's kind of a You know what I mean? And Ali is my favorite actress in Bollywood. I'm not saying that that's a good acting, but like, she's the one that's judgmental. She's the one that's snarky. She says all the proper things and is educated, but she's actually being the 90% of the time. So I thought that was a really creative way to do it.
The moment you said Ranveer Singh, I added another movie to that list, Bajirao Mastani, just to show them who Sanjay Leela Bhansali is.
Yeah, you need to see that. He's, to me, I've never seen any director make anything look as beautiful as he makes everything look. Everything. Now, I wish everything wasn't so goddamn sad all the time. We were watching Hiramandi, and my wife told me, we're watching Hiramandi. I'm not going to give a spoiler, but she told me from the beginning, she was like, this is a Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie. Do not expect happiness at the end. And if she didn't tell me that, I would have, because I'd seen a couple of his movies, but I never put that together. I would have been so devastated. But she warned me. She was like, I promise you, it's not going to be fully happy. It's just not going to happen. And then Devdas was just like, why am I torturing myself? Jesus Christ. Open the gate, bro. You know what I mean? Like, open the gate. Man is dying. You can't open the gate?
I can't think of a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film that doesn't contain some intense form of sadness.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
It doesn't happen.
Like, there's no film he's made, but and I still respect him a lot. Like, I think he's an incredible filmmaker.
Gangubai wasn't as sad. I loved that because it was like, it wasn't that sad of a movie, and it's so beautiful. And I think Alia, that's where I was like, she might be the best actress on earth when I watched that movie.
Yeah,
I was
fair.
really impressed with her in that movie.
One more suggestion, this is a final movie suggestion from my side, is a Salman Khan film called Bajrangi Bhaijaan.
Oh, I love that movie. Dude, that little girl's so cute in that movie. Oh my God, she's adorable.
Yeah.
That movie is so good.
It's also about India, Pakistan. And it's a very real film. The director's this guy called Kabir Khan, who's like one of my favorite film directors like in India. And I feel he's under-celebrated almost in our country. But bro, what a film. That's another film I'd show a
great movie, heartwarming.
Yeah. Real. And that's probably Salman Khan's best film.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Can you think of any other
Hum
iconic?
Aapke Hai Kaun I've heard is good. I haven't seen it, though.
It's nice. But like, I don't know if it's relatable for people in 2024. Okay. Again, there's a lot of 90s energy.
Yeah.
But this seems to be a timeless film.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's got innocence. And
yeah, he's just such a sweet portrayal. And like, again, the little girl's like the cutest girl I've ever seen in a movie. She's adorable. Yeah.
Can we switch back to Hollywood?
Yeah.
And just some more like recommendations?
Yeah.
Again,
from me?
Keeping Indian audiences in mind.
Indian audience in mind. Okay, Ocean's 11 you would love. You would love it. I'm trying to think. The Italian Job seems like Indians would really like it.
They copied it in India. There
Which
was a
one?
film. I don't remember, and it didn't do well, but they copied the Italian Job.
Was it Happy New Year?
I don't remember, bro, but I think it was called Risk or something.
Okay.
It's a one-word. I think it's got Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yeah.
And it starts with them being in a snowy. They're robbing a bank. Players. That was the name of the film. But they'd copied the Italian.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's so tough to keeping the Indian audience in mind. I'm thinking big budget stuff, which is I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah.
Most Indians have watched all the Avenger films. Most.
Oh, you need to see an Avengers film. Yeah, you need to see the first Avengers movie, and then Infinity War. There's either one of those. It's like that's it. That is what you think American Hollywood cinema at big budget is, and it's amazing. They knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Someone who's very, very celebrated in India, at least in urban India, is Christopher Nolan.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
But again, if someone doesn't know Christopher Nolan is or who's not seen a Christopher Nolan film, you can't recommend Interstellar and Inception because they're like little...
Yeah. Interstellar, I saw recently. God damn, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's probably my favorite film of all time.
And I think I was watching it for most of the movie like, all right, I guess. And then by the end, I was like, this is the saddest, most beautiful movie. There's another one kind of like that. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, you're watching that movie even more so, like just kind of confused for 90% of it. And then all of a sudden it turns into this beautiful movie. It's like a really crazy thing.
Do you watch Parasite? It was a Korean film.
I didn't like that movie.
How come?
I just like the idea that it's some commentary on like who's the bad guy. The rich people or the poor. These poor people were scumbags. Like the rich people were kind of the poor people lied, cheated, stole. Like they did nothing of any substance. They murdered. Like they were horrible people. The rich guy said you smell behind your back. That's not nice, but like, okay. I mean, these guys are parasite. There is no social commentary. These are bad people who deserve nothing good.
Korean culture has become extremely huge in India, including rural India.
Really?
So we live in a country now where the parents of these kids never even watch television in some cases.
Oh, wow.
But the kids are into Korean culture.
Wow.
What the bro?
That's crazy. K-pop was, I don't know if it still is, it was massive in America.
No, it's as big here. Anime is big here. K-pop's big here. But Korean culture, Korean films, Korean pop stars, it's very huge with Gen Z and Gen Alpha.
Huh.
And it's getting bigger, which is what's weird. I don't know if that's the case in America.
I think, so I feel the K-pop wave is over, and I actually predict specifically Punjabi music is going to have a big wave in America.
Yeah?
I think.
Really?
I think Karan Aujla is going to, I think he's going to be the first to cross over. I saw a video, you probably don't even know who he is. His name is Tyrese. He was an R&B singer that was really, not really famous. He's pretty famous in the 2000s, and then he maintained some level of relevance. This is a black guy from Compton, or Watts, I don't know, I think they might be the same, whatever. But he's playing Karan Aujla outside of his house on his pool speakers. Wow. And that's when I was like, oh. And then there's a video of Karan Aujla meeting Kanye West, and I was like, I think he's going to be the guy that brings it over.
I brought this up on the Karan Aujla podcast we did. So he gave us one of our most successful podcasts of the year because he is a guy who's really celebrated now in Indian culture.
Yeah.
So I brought up this point with him. There's a kid in my building who I play football with.
Yeah.
The kid's like 11 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And he said that amongst kids his age, Punjabi music is a huge deal.
Yeah. It's going to cross over.
It wasn't the case when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm Punjabi, so I listened to few Punjabi songs. But now Punjabi music is super mainstream.
Fateh is my guy. That's my brother. I love him. He was like one of the first guys. And I still think he's a great rapper. English too. I'm surprised he didn't blow up because he's good at rapping in English as well. Shub, I think, is awesome, but he only raps in Punjabi. And Karan Aujla, I think, is like, he's more musical. I don't know if he's a rapper necessarily, but like, I think he's just got a good ear. And Toba Toba is going crazy right now. I've never seen a song take off this fast in any Hollywood, Bollywood, doesn't matter. I've never seen anything happen this quickly.
Yeah. I mean, as an artist, he's a blessed guy. Deep lyrics. You know, blessings from like 5 different angles. Very difficult life. Extremely difficult life. Really tough guy. Positive energy. Lights up a room when he enters. But that's not the point I was making. The point I was making was the kids getting into Punjabi music. My question is, how come people who are not brown are getting into it? What's in it for them?
I think the music sounds good, and I think there's a swag is the only word I could think of. Maybe I'm just 40, but like there's a swag that Punjabis have that just works. It crosses over. Like, I don't know, they just carry themselves a certain way that I think will cross over the easiest in America.
A little bit like Afro beats.
Yeah.
I don't know how big Afro beats is.
Yeah,
in America.
Afrobeats is big there too.
Yeah.
But they got that, and there's a little confidence they have. And again, they're rapping. And Punjabi also just sounds like a more hard language. Not cool, but like harder. The way you pronounce the words is harder. So I think that works well with rap. It's just like you're on the beat, you're hitting the word. You know what I mean?
It is a musical language.
Gaddi is like, it's just harder than Gadi. You know what I mean? I'm not even just saying that. All the languages, you speak Punjabi. My wife speaks it fairly well, but like that everything is just, you hit it.
It's fun being around Punjabi.
Yeah.
Just hear them talk.
Yeah.
Right?
It's musical, and it's like, again, it's like kind of hip hop and the rhythm of it.
I brought this up with a top Hindi rapper who was on the show. His name's Krishna. I asked him this question and he disagreed, and obviously he's got the better gauge of the situation. But in my eyes, as an Indian, like living here, and I've seen the rise of hip hop with Gully Boy. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, of course. That was the movie where I was like, oh, Ranveer can go. He can act. Yeah.
I've noticed that Hindi hip hop mostly is a little angry. It's angrier than normal music. And I don't think that angry music always makes it to the mainstream. So I asked him that why isn't there more chilled Hindi music? There's a very chilled Urdu rapper. His name is Faris Shafi. Faris Shafi's most famous song is Introduction. Okay, and there's a viral reel of Honey Singh where he's recalling the lyrics of this guy.
Okay.
And that's the first Desi hip-hop song that I've heard in Hindi or Urdu, which had a very chilled out vibe, yet became like super mainstream. But it's got very provocative lyrics.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what you think the secret sauce.
I don't know, bro. I mean, I think the secret sauce is being chilled out.
Yeah.
But that song specifically was very provocative.
Yeah.
I really appreciate Pakistani creativity, especially when it comes to music. Yeah. Tell me about how it feels when you come back to India.
I said this on the last episode. Every time I come back, I only went twice when I was a kid. By the time I was 34, I'd only been 2 times. And then I came back when I had a little bit more money. We were starting to make a little money with Flagrant. And I said, you know what? Before, there's always excuses. I don't have free time. I don't have money. Now that I have a little more money, I said, even if it's for 5 days, I need to come home. Because this is home. My soul knows this is home. To Indians, I might be American, but when I come here, I'm like, no, I'm home. So I try to every year at least once, except for COVID year, I try to come at least one time and just set my feet in India and walk around if I can. So I want to come back in December because I didn't get to walk around and experience Mumbai this time.
I'm assuming the earliest memory of your life is somewhere between the age of 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Did you realize that you're a brown guy back then?
No, because you grew up in an Indian household and my parents only had Indian friends. So I just thought we were all the thing. And I don't think I knew I was Indian, but I didn't realize that most people thought that was different until school. First, second grade, I started to realize I would talk about India, and I remember something about, sometimes in India, like my mom had a pet cow and everybody started laughing. And I was like, what's so funny? And I remember this Indian girl being like, we don't have cows as pets. And I was like, why is that weird? What's going on? And that's the first time I remember. Now, I've never thought about that, but that's the first time I remember being like, oh, this is not, everybody doesn't have the same background as me.
And does that feeling increase with age?
I think you get more comfortable with it as you get older, ideally. Some people never get comfortable with it, and you see that. I think you kind of are forced in America to either embrace where you're from or reject where you're from. These are kind of the 2 options.
For every culture, right? We're not just Indian.
Yeah, probably every culture, but especially Indian culture. Now it's getting viewed differently, but back then growing up, it was more of a, like, this is a funny thing. We don't understand it. We kind of laugh at it. So you can either reject it, want nothing to do with India, which I did for a while. And then at some point, I realized I'm actually from a beautiful place with a beautiful culture and beautiful people. And then I started to really embrace it. I probably overcompensated. And now I think I'm in like a healthy, I'm proud of where I'm from. I can still laugh at it at times, but like overall, I'm very proud of where I'm from. I feel blessed to be Indian.
Okay. I don't know if every Indian knows about what the term A, B, C, D means.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it's an offensive thing for NRIs.
No, we know what we are.
Okay.
American-born confused Desi. Because you grow up, and you pointed out earlier that that's the C is why the C is confused, because we grow up our whole lives in America, and people there tell us you're Indian. I identify as Indian. Then we come to India, and everybody in India is like, no, you're a American. You are American, man. So that's where there's a lot of identity confusion, and I don't know where I fit in, and there's much bigger struggles on earth, but that is a struggle that we have of like, what are we? We don't know. Nobody thinks we're them.
So I'm not just talking about Indians. I'm also putting Pakistani, Sri Lankan,
Yeah, all
Bangladesh in the
Desis.
same.
South Asians, yeah.
Desis.
Yeah.
The people who reject their own home culture.
Yeah.
What's the cause of the rejection?
You get made fun of for it. I remember not wanting to be made fun of for who I was. Now, you want to fit in as a kid. That's the number one thing most kids want. I just want to fit in. It takes a lot of confidence to be okay not fitting in. Some people go so far the other way. They're still trying to fit in with the weird people or whatever. You know what I mean? Most of us just want to fit in somewhere. So if you're getting made fun of for where you're from, for what your language is, for what your culture is, you reject that and you're like, well, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm not like them, guys. I'm like you. That's what I used to do. So again, it's a process, but that's where it comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you go on a little bit more about this? Like, for example, when someone says that I reject Desi culture, do they drop their name as well?
They won't say I reject it. You'll see it in their actions. You'll see it in the way they pronounce their names.
Like
Ajay will call himself AJ. And sometimes they only do that for white people, and if they meet an Indian, they'll say Ajay, and then in their mind, they are kind of just making it easy for white people, which I don't think they're wrong. But I personally feel like I don't care how they say my name. They'll say Akaash or Akaash. I say Akaash. I don't care what you say. You can say anything you want. It's not about how you pronounce my name. It's about how I pronounce my name. I own that name. You know what I mean? So some people will go the other way and make white people say their name correctly, or black people, whatever. No. It's pronounced like this. I don't care. I just need to make sure I say it the way it's supposed to be said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from the 80s until now, how's the perception of the Indian changed in America?
There's still punchlines for sure. And like there'll be some Twitter videos of Indians doing crazy stuff like bathing in cow dung to not get COVID or whatever in whatever village. And they'll make fun of that. But overall, the perception is, honestly, India is coming. It's people, I think, prefer India to China in America in terms of like which superpower we would like to see be next. But yeah, I think the perception of Indians now is generally we're very educated, we're very smart, not the biggest on women's rights, maybe. But that's the only kind of, I mean, yeah, again, outside of like the crazy videos you'll see on Twitter or whatever, that's kind of the only negative perception is like it's not safe for women to walk down the street in New Delhi or whatever. And they don't even, I hear Bombay's very different, but they don't know that difference.
Who do Indians mostly vote for? Democrat or Republican? It's
Young
divided?
Indians vote Democrat, old Indians vote Republican, typically.
Really?
Yeah, not across the board. Of course, but generalize, if I had to generalize, young Indians tend to be a little more liberal, a little bit more woke, and older Indians, they feel they came here and they don't understand, and it takes a lot to understand that black people in America were like systemically over, like at all levels. So they're just like, dude, I came here, I made a living, why can't you? They don't necessarily understand that there's obstacles that have been set up that weren't set up for them. They had their own struggle and they see them as like, I'm giving my tax dollars to people who don't want to work hard and people who XYZ, and they also just we want to keep our tax money, which is valid as well. But I think older Indians tend to be right, if you had to generalize, and younger Indians tend to be left. And what's going to be interesting is probably as these guys get older, these young Indians, and they make more money, they're going to start moving toward the right, and that's kind of the natural progression of things.
Why does that happen? Because, I mean, Indians follow American politics from a geopolitical standpoint because whatever's happening in America
It affects everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we kind of have an overview, but when I listen to, say, a Joe Rogan episode or any of the American podcasts where politics are discussed, I feel there's a lot of fire now between the two sides.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of intensity where this is happening in India as well,
Yeah.
but to a slightly lesser degree. Like the whole world's getting more polarized, but
Yeah.
am I right in saying that?
I feel the whole world is getting more polarized, but America's the epicenter of it. And I think it bleeds. I don't know if it bleeds from America or if America just did it first and social media is causing all this rift. And we were just the most on social media earliest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, I mean, dude, they tried to kill Trump potentially, or it was set up, I don't know, but 2 days ago. That's insane. That's insane. That's never happened in my lifetime. That someone takes a shot at a political leader. It just, in America. I'm still like, what's going on? I can't get my head around that.
How do you feel about it?
I'm worried about America, man. Like, it's not, I'm not saying it's falling apart or whatever, but it's I'm worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here that we're this divided, that we are shooting at political leaders, and I don't know. It's very divided, and it's not getting any healthier anytime soon, as far as I can tell. And that's a scary thing.
Do you want to talk about Gen Z America a little bit?
Yeah, let's yell at them a little bit. Yeah, sure.
Why do you say that, bro?
They're annoying. I mean, they're sweet, but they're a little annoying. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good things about them, but they're a little annoying.
Too intense?
No. Well, I just, I think they are concerned a lot about privilege in a way that I'm annoyed by. And I'll speak specifically for Indian Americans. This is a much larger conversation. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around. I didn't ever realize how guilty I felt about being in America until I got older. It was this thing that always weighed on me because my mom had 3 sisters. 2 of them stayed in India, got arranged marriages. My grandfather, my family's not going to like me saying this, but he didn't care who he married them off to. I don't know anything about their husbands. I barely ever see them again. They didn't have the easiest lives. My mom got to move to America in 1968. She was 14 years old. She got to go to high school, got to go to college. She got to build a life in America in the 60s when it was the land of opportunity and India was not. The only reason I'm here in this chair is because I was born in America. My mom is the dividing line. My mom and her younger sister both came to America. The 2 olders did not. She's the dividing line between India when it was third world and America when it was at its peak. And I came out of my mom I came out of the right person. That's the only reason I am where I am. So when I hear Indians talking about privilege and like doing these pieces where they're the victims and they're traumatized by racism, it's like, yo, hey, that trauma is valid, but do you not have any sense of how lucky you are to be in America back then? And again, I'm not saying India. I know India's ascending, but America back then and India back then, the way you got to grow up, you have no fucking clue how privileged you are, and it drives me crazy that you don't have that perspective. And it really bothers me. That's when I hear Gen Z, millennials, whatever, talking about like white privilege, I get that there's validity to it, but at least acknowledge your own privilege and how blessed you are to just have that opportunity.
Explain white privilege to Indians in India watching this, because this is a very American concept.
Oh, it's all anybody talks about in America. That's so funny. The idea is being white gives you certain privileges in life. Your life is easier because you are white. And there is validity to it in that, like, if you're a black guy who gets pulled over by the police, there is a chance you could get killed for no real reason. It happens to white people too, but statistically it seems to happen, or at least anecdotally, it seems to happen more to black people. White people never have to worry about that. That is an example of white privilege that is real. But we talk about, now there's all these different levels of privilege. You have cisgender privilege, meaning you're not transgender, you are cisgender. There's privilege in that. You have heterosexual privilege. And then America has just become, in some people's eyes, a social structure of hierarchy based on what amount of privilege you are perceived to have. And that dictates everything. And if you are at the most privileged, we can say anything we want about you, and you can't say anything back, and you should be apologetic for anything that you have. And it's just like this whole series of rules that comes with the privilege that you have.
Okay. Do Hindus in America know about the Mahabharata and Ramayana?
Yes, we know of it. And then we all watched that Ramayana tape, these 26 episodes. Yeah. I had that VHS and I would watch it. Episode 4, Tarka was my favorite. And then Mahabharata, a lot of Indian Americans liked. I didn't like it as much as the Ramayana. The tapes.
The B.R. Chopra Mahabharata.
I don't even remember who
Mahabharata.
made it.
That?
Yeah, I never got as into it. Ramayana, now I love, dude. I thought it was awesome.
Do they show it to you with subtitles?
No, I don't think we saw it with subtitles. I think we just...
Okay.
I don't even know if I understood... I don't know if I understood what was being said. I just love the fight scenes.
So we discussed this before we were rolling. One of my creative dreams is to retell the Ramayana and the Mahabharata for international audiences. Yeah. And I think that the time we live in needs that right now.
Yeah.
But also those shows, especially B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata, if you can get through it, something shifts inside you.
We watched the Gita episode well, not recently. I'm 40 now. I was in college at the time, but I remember being like, "Oh, this is." And then I read the Gita after that as an adult. But I remember that one episode being like, "Well, that's everything you need."
Did the philosophy affect you?
I think on some level, and I think about it all the time, dharam and karam. Like I just think about that. This is my duty. I just do it.
Bro, it's a story about war, and it's a very layered story about different human personalities at war. I think if you really get through the Mahabharata, it'll give you what you need in life. And for me, it's given me a warrior spirit very intensely. Like, I think my character buildings come out of studying the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Bro, in India, we're seeing this rise of spirituality again, especially with young people, especially people our age. Is that the case in America?
No.
Not at all.
Lost it. I don't know if it's lost forever, but it's not there right now.
So I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan.
Yeah.
And I actually think that a lot of the stuff he says is deeply spiritual.
Yeah, he's a spiritual guy, but he won't ever push a faith on anyone.
Right.
But I think he is spiritual without saying he's spiritual. I think in action he's spiritual, if that makes sense.
Right? He's a kind guy.
Yeah, just he's the most principled person I've ever met in my life.
Do you mind if we speak about him a little bit?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Because you know how I feel about him. I told you
yeah.
over the course of the last 3 days, like, I genuinely consider him my content guru.
Yeah.
And probably my life guru because I've listened to him so much.
Here's a great story about what kind of guy Joe Rogan is. This is the first time I ever met him in person. Never said a word to him. Andrew was filming his comedy special, Infamous. Was just like filming it. Joe Rogan goes, watches the show, comes backstage after the special, sees me. We've never said a word to each other. Huge smile, gives me a genuine hug, talks to me, locks in on me for like 4 or 5 minutes. We're talking. And obviously, this is 2021. I didn't have much of a profile. I wasn't selling tickets. I hadn't put out a comedy special. Yeah, I'm a guy that could do nothing for him. Gives me genuine attention. And the only time he breaks the attention is when another comic, who's even lower than me at the time, walks by. Joe Rogan, black guy for what it's worth, if anybody thinks anything about Rogan. But he goes, Derek! Gives Derek a big hug, then talks to him for a minute, and then comes right back to me. Derek Poston, very, very, very funny comedian. But at the time, Derek couldn't do anything for me. He certainly can't do anything for Joe Rogan. But Joe greeted two people that could do nothing for him with massive hugs, genuine conversation, genuine attention. And what do they say? If you want to know somebody, see how they treat people who can't do anything for them. That's Joe, right there. Like, I'll always remember that. And this is before any of the controversy with the N-word, blah blah blah. And just truly like warm energy, warm spirit.
I know that when someone has a really sharp and intense opinion about Joe Rogan, they've usually not seen more than about 5 or 6 episodes.
I don't even know if they haven't seen episodes. They've seen Twitter clips cut up to make them think what they want to think.
Yeah. Unless they have a positive opinion of Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a sharply negative opinion of him.
Yeah. Do you think he'll ever stop the podcast?
No, I don't. I think he loves it, man. He genuinely loves it. Like this is what I was telling you off pod. He only pursues things he's passionate about. Even on the podcast, he's going to talk about things he's passionate about, and he'll obsess over those things in a good way, and that's what he'll talk about. He's super principled. He's not going to pursue anything if it stops being fun for him, if it's something that is a money, like he makes a ton of money out the podcast, obviously, but he wouldn't do it for the money. He would either do it for free or make a lot of money because he would do it for free. Does that make sense? He's not going to do something. He's not going to keep podcasting because there's money in it. He's just not that guy.
What's it like doing a whole episode with him? Like, what do you feel at the end of the 2 hours?
Exhausted. Because Joe gives you full attention. Like, you're giving me a lot of attention right now. Joe will lock in, make eye contact the whole time, and he's a professional. He's one of the greatest talkers on earth. So you're like, in a genuine conversation, a normal conversation, generally you'll zone out a little bit. You can't do that. With Joe Rogan's giving you his full attention, you better give him your full attention back. This is Joe Rogan. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. He's got tens of millions of listeners, and he's giving you his undivided attention for hours on end. If you don't match that, you are doing a disservice to a guy who's doing a lot for you. You know what I mean? But most of us aren't trained at doing that. We kind of zone in and out. We kind of look wherever. So you walk out of that being like, holy like I just got out of a fight. I'm tired. But it's the least you can do for him.
What's the energy of the studio like?
I think it's like a focused calm, I guess, probably, if I had to guess. I hadn't thought about it like that. But yeah, you go in, he gives you a big hug, you talk for a couple minutes. Then whenever you're ready, you go in, you just do the pod, put on the headphones, a little small talk, let it rip, and just go. Put my phone upside down or put my phone face down. I don't want any interruptions. But yeah.
What happens after the shoot?
We both times gave him a hug, took a picture. Both times he said that was great, which was such a relief. When he said that was great, I was like, oh, thank God. If nobody else likes it, you like it, that's a massive win. And then I just kind of left. Both times there was a car waiting, and I didn't want to keep the driver waiting super long. The episodes went kind of long. I think the second time we hung out for like 10, 15 minutes. But I'm also like very cognizant of like, I don't want to waste this guy's time. Maybe too cognizant. Maybe like I was with the Ambanis where I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. Sometimes I could be a bit too shy with that when I already know you're doing me a favor. So I kind of just let Joe be. I try not to text him unless I have like what an impact you had on him. I think I would like for him to know how impactful he is. So I'll probably hit him with that.
Bro.
I saw the trailer for his new special. I thought that was awesome. So I texted him that. Like I'll text him little stuff like that, but that's it.
As YouTubers, as podcasters, who do you turn to?
It's not even a question.
You can only turn to like the older guys.
Yeah.
And he is like literally the cause of podcasting in the world for me.
Yeah.
If I think I'm doing badly in a certain phase of podcasting, my solution to that repeatedly over the last 5 years is listen to a lot of Joe Rogan again and see the degree of evolution that guy has reached in his questions or his knowledge levels. He's such a knowledgeable guy.
It's unbelievable.
Right?
Andrew says this all the time. The most impressive thing about Joe is his recall and retention. Anything he's read or heard, he can recall it with perfect accuracy. It's insane.
Have you just hung out with him? You have hung out with him, right?
I've hung out with him a little bit. Again, I try not to be like in his way, but like he had me on the show at the comedy club, at the mothership. So we were hanging out a little bit backstage. Again, intense guy, very focused, he loves stand-up, which I think is awesome, to be doing it for 30 years and have all that money and all that power and still be like, no, I love stand-up and I'm going to work hard at this thing. He doesn't half-ass it. You'll see comics that half-ass it. He's not one of them.
I'm going to say something super vulnerable, man. Like I'm going to be really transparent here. I have visualized this phase of my life. Mm-hmm. It's this one specific visualization where I'm walking next to Joe Rogan in the Himalayas. And I've visualized it a lot. And I feel this country has so many whack secrets which you really need to seek out. Mm-hmm. Like there's these cities which are becoming popular travel destinations now. But if you visit them, the narrative is that India is unhygienic and disorganized. And that's true to a degree. But it's getting better on both fronts.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a phase where India becomes travel friendly. Mm-hmm. So people are willing to come here and explore their own minds. Like this is an extremely stimulating country.
Joe would he's probably been, but he would love India and he wouldn't care about any of that. I think the issue with him is just time. 4 podcasts a week, right? 52 weeks a year. I don't know when he's taking a vacation that's not shows. I'm sure he has. I just don't know.
Does he record things and then release it?
Typically for me, it's come out the next day. Both times, I think, the next day.
The things he says about the world and how he perceives the world, I feel...
He has a very Eastern view on things, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Without trying to, without forcing it, he just has a very Eastern view on things. Which is, again, people have a very different view of what he actually is than what he actually is.
Bro, what's an Eastern view on things versus what's a Western view on things?
I wouldn't be surprised if Joe believed in reincarnation. I don't know if he does, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like that, he's very spiritual in that sense, I think. Again, he's not like annoying about it like some people, but I do believe he's like that. I think he believes I think he believes in got him, like you put out good energy, it comes back to you. I think he believes in that. He's like, he overpays relative to every other comedy club. He would never advertise this, but he pays way more than every other comedy club to the comics, to the doormen, to the employees, to the security, everybody. He just pays. He tips like crazy whenever he goes somewhere. And I think he believes you just put good energy out there and then it comes back to you. And that's a very Eastern philosophy.
I want to talk about Eastern philosophy in general versus Western philosophy.
Yeah.
For example, this is not all Indians, but when you're in this country, you usually, at some point in your life, start thinking about the meaning of life. Mm-hmm. And depending on whichever religion you belong to, you usually go back to the teachings of your own religion. Mm-hmm. But you question the purpose of life a lot. Mm-hmm. What's life like? Very generalized question. But what's life like for an average and I love white people, but I'm using white people as an example here for this question.
Yeah, just use them.
What's the average white person's mindset about life and death?
I don't know that people... That's a question I think people don't contemplate that much out loud because it starts to seem pretty hopeless. Like, what is the meaning of life? Leave this place better than when you found it. There's all these kind of general things you can say, but if you really delve into that question, it can start to feel kind of hopeless. That's where I think God is incredibly important. I want to shout out my wife. She's sick, but she has a relationship with God that, like, I marvel at. She knows a lot about the faith and all that, but she also just says these things that are so wise. So even in immaturity, it's so mature. And I don't know, I just want to shout out, this is a cool story, but like I remember she had never really experienced death in her family. And then during, not from, but within a span of 8 days, she lost her Nanaji, whom she loved, who was like her favorite, and then one of her Masis, who she also loved dearly. And I remember her saying, I'm mad at God. And I was like, oh, dude, what a mature, it sounds immature, but what a mature way to look at. I'm so afraid of God that I would never say something like that out loud. But then I was like, oh, if you look at God as like a parent who loves you, sometimes your kid is going to be mad at you. That's okay. I know he still loves me. I know they still love me. I don't know. This is a cool story that just came into my mind, and I just wanted to shout that out. But like, I think for her, if you asked her faith, it's just, if you ask her the meaning of life, it's get closer to God at all times. The closer you get to God, the closer you get to enlightenment, and then you're free.
Yeah. That's the core of Eastern philosophy.
That is Hinduism. That is Sikhi. That is everything.
Yeah.
In Eastern, for the West, I think it's make it to heaven probably, but that is from tending to your own garden, maybe taking care of your wife, taking care of your kids, doing community service when you can, giving 10% to the church. I think there is probably, those are the differences. If you delve into this faith, Western versus Eastern, Western is do good to get to heaven. Eastern is be free.
Isn't there more atheism in the West, generally speaking, again? I feel people don't have a concept of a higher power or are agnostic where they know something.
They're
exists.
a lot more agnostic than atheists. Atheists are fewer and further between than you'd think.
Explain what an atheist is.
Atheist is there is no God. I say that with a period at the end. I say that with absolute certainty. And I think it's foolish to believe in God. And they preach just as much as religious people. Very annoying.
Right.
And I'm sure other people have said this. I remember Andrew being like, at least a Christian who's preaching to you wants you to go to heaven. An atheist has no good purpose behind their preaching. But yeah, that's an atheist. An agnostic is, I don't know if there's a God. I think I would lean toward no, but I don't know. I have no idea. And I've been agnostic at times for sure. And I think that's something you can come in and out of. But yeah, I think there's a lot more agnosticism in the West than there is in the East.
There's this book called The Autobiography of a Yogi, which was Steve
I love that
Jobs'. Oh, you've read it?
Paramhansa Yogananda.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You've read this?
I've read this.
Okay, so it's the one book written by an Indian person, which is extremely popular worldwide.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most popular book that's come out of India. And once you read it, you understand why it's both Steve Jobs' favorite book and Virat Kohli's favorite book. And we keep bringing it up on the show regularly. And something shifts within you when you read that book.
I need to reread it. I read it when I was like 24, 23. I would like to reread it.
So what I have read about the book is that it was the first book written by a sage from India where he wrote the book directly in English. So normally sages at that time, this is like the 1940s, 1950s.
Yeah.
Before this phase, books were written only in Sanskrit or I'm assuming a local language like Hindi.
Yeah.
And Hindi is a more complicated language than English. And I say that as it's a deeper language. It's more poetic.
Yeah.
Sanskrit is a whole other level of poetry within the language. It's a very complex, very advanced language. And you're able to encapsulate very elaborate emotions within words in Sanskrit. For example, there's a word in Hindi called mamta. And mamta translates to mother's love. That's a very specific emotion, like motherly love.
Okay.
So you can say, I feel mamta for the puppy.
Okay.
And maybe even a guy could feel a sense of mamta to some degree, but you associate it with girls. Now, this is what Hindi is to English. Now, imagine a whole other language which has even deeper stuff than Hindi.
Yeah.
So, for example, Ranveer, the name means run, which is war field, okay? And veer, which is brave. So the Hindi translation of my name is brave on the battlefield. But if you get into the exact Sanskrit translation of what Ranveer means, it translates to something like they break down ra, na, vi, ra, which in some way, and we had a Sanskrit scholar on the show who told me this, it means that this person, if he is named Ranveer, as he goes forward in life, he perceives life to be more of a battle, but he also becomes braver and more capable of doing it. And it's believed that your name in Indian culture becomes your life's mantra. So you become your name. And you get the qualities of what your name is. Which is why all Indian names are based on some deeper meaning. Nothing against like other names. But it's not just Indian names. I think even like in Islam, all their names have a deeper meaning.
Okay.
I'm assuming that even names like John and Jack have some biblical reference. And
Yeah, it's usually a reference to a person in the Bible.
And it's based on that. I mean,
Joe is Jesus' dad, Joseph. Yeah,
it's based on the fact that maybe you gain the qualities of that person.
maybe, but they're disconnected from that, and I don't mean that as an insult. It just is what it is.
Yeah, that's the beauty of India, bro. You're exposed to all these scholars who know all these Eastern philosophy nuggets, and your process of life and the process of the evolution of your mind keeps.
Yeah.
It gets really fast here.
Yeah.
There's downsides to living in India, but there's a lot of upside if you're a reflective person.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're becoming more like the sky?
That's interesting. Maybe because I feel like my potential is up there. I feel like my potential is up there, and I'm starting to reach it now. I feel like I'm just starting to get there. And for a long time, I didn't have as much confidence in my stand-up ability. Like I would see a lot of comedians, and I would be like, man, I don't know if I can do that. And now I'm looking at a lot of them and being like, oh, they can't do what I can do. And I don't mean that as a shot. That's just where my confidence is now. And so maybe I'm feeling like there is no real ceiling. We can just keep going. Maybe.
I think we've had a nice conversation.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think we're done for today.
Thank you for having me.
Akaash Singh, bro.
Yeah. You know how much it means to me. We're talking off pod about touching India, trying to reach Indian audiences, not even to make money off of them, just to like be in touch with where I'm from. And so I really appreciate you having me.
No, for sure, bro. I'm a fan. I've told you this.
Thank you, man.
I really want to make your work reach more people who understand what you're doing, because I think there's a layer of stand-up comedy where it's jokes, and then there's a much deeper layer where it's a representation of the human being.
Thank you.
So you're bringing brown culture out there for the world.
That's the idea.
There's a lot of brown boys and girls who back you like crazy.
That's what I'm hoping for, man. And I want to say this, wherever I wind up, I hope to be great. That's up to them, not me. But if they make me that, I hope I always represent us in a way that I'm going to for sure. But hopefully, generally, I carry myself in a way that we're proud of. And I represent us well.
If you come back to India, and then we'll reboot and we'll uncancel you.
No. I feel they're going to get more annoyed than America. America's more lenient now. But I just, I'm probably going to but just know that I truly always consider us in everything I do. Even if I'm considering it on some level.
Akaash Singh, thank you for being on TRS for the second time now.
Yeah.
And I hope to speak to you the next time when it's not the early morning.
Yes.
And we have very high energy levels.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Akaash Singh. It's always a blast speaking to stand-up comics because I feel they're very keen observers of life. Make sure you follow Akaash on all his social media handles. TRS and the whole team will be back very, very soon. I'm looking forward to collaborating with more overseas Indians. So if you're someone who has something to say to the entire TRS community, please reach out on the email given below. Lots of love. Ranveer and the team will be back very soon.